It's an interesting article on Election Day. A man who says that he often votes Democrats or left of that will not be voting today. I disagree. But his reasoning is very, very interesting. He basically talks about election denialism on both sides, but the lies from the Democratic Party. And he's not going to be voting. And I want to read a bit and comment on his ideas here. But I want to point out, you need to go vote. And I would say this to Matt Bivens, who's saying he won't go vote. You need to go vote. But I guess the issue is he doesn't want to vote for a corrupt, broken Democrat. And he doesn't want to vote for Republicans because he doesn't agree with them, perhaps. I would only argue, my friend, there's other people you can vote for. But I suppose if someone chooses not to vote, that's the same as them choosing to vote. They're making their voice heard. And for this Democrat individual saying they won't vote, they want people to hear what they have to say as to why they will not. Now, this lost vote for Democrats is a victory for Republicans. Someone who is a Democrat, who normally votes Democrat, who decides not to, benefits Republicans. Not so much as if he went out and actually voted for Republicans. But I'm willing to bet there are many Democrats who believe exactly this. I want to show you Matt Bivens' article and comment on it. He writes, "Why I won't vote tomorrow. I often vote Democrat or left of that, not this time." He starts by saying, Joe Biden made his pitch for why to vote for his side. Apparently, it's because the other side encourages political violence and doesn't accept the results of elections. Democracy is on the ballot, the president told us a few days ago, in what was billed as a major national address. The New York Times headlined it thus: Biden warns that big lie Republicans imperil American democracy. In a primetime address, President Biden condemned election violence and voter intimidation just days before Tuesday's midterm elections. It's funny. The Democrats act like they are unique, but they rely on your ignorance. They all denied the election in 2016. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? Right now on Twitter, there's a big goings on with Elon Musk. There are people who are coming out, and this, I kid you not, this is how hilarious it is. They're like, allowing anyone to be verified is bad because then people who are verified will impersonate other people and Elon will let them do it. So, to prove their point, they started changing their names to Elon Musk, and then they got banned because that's never been allowed. Now they're saying, well, why was I banned? It was just a joke. It was parody. So let's slow it down. They say verification for anyone is bad because it will allow impersonation. Twitter never allowed impersonation and bans them. Now they're complaining they should be allowed to impersonate. You see the point? We cannot take these people seriously. We have to just basically ignore them because there's no principle. There's no rhyme or reason. It's chaos. It's destruction. It's drama. It's power. It's insanity. I'm not saying Republicans are offering much more, so I understand what this guy's saying. I just feel a little off when he's like, I'm not going to vote. And I'm like, I get it. Fine. You know, it's your choice. If you don't want to, I'll tell you this. If you don't vote, Democrats win. Now, I'm going to read more, but I want to give a shout out to our new song because we really do need your support on this one. Head over to losingmymind.com. Purchase our latest song, Genocide, Losing My Mind by Timcast. We hit number 1 on iTunes for Friday and Saturday, displacing Taylor Swift. We've dropped down quite a bit. They're big and they're famous, and we don't have the industry support these other bands do. A lot of these bands, the reason their songs do so well is they instantly get placed in Spotify, Pandora, and all these big companies, these big streaming services that instantly start shelling out those songs. It's the radio. We don't have that. We need word of mouth. We need you guys. If our songs do well, they will have to start putting us in these rotations. So we're hoping that we can smash into the Billboard Hot 100, but we need your help to do it. Head over to losingmymind.com. You can buy the song on iTunes, Amazon. I think we were number 2 on Amazon now. We are number 1 bestseller for the entire weekend. Seriously, guys, thank you so much. And listen to the song on YouTube. But let's get back to the election. Quote, as I stand here today, there are candidates running for every level of office in America for governor, Congress, Attorney General, Secretary of State, who won't commit. They will not commit to accepting the results of the election that they are running in. This is the path to chaos in America. It's unprecedented, it's unlawful, and it's un-American. We are indeed on a path to chaos. Each of, this is off this end quote. Now we'll read more from Bivens. We are indeed on a path to chaos. Each of our national political parties, both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, will continue to wallow in feverish conspiracy theories about the election getting stolen, even as each tries to steal it rather than convince anyone of anything. Full stop. Wrong. This is the most important element that I want to address. I am not a Republican. I have historically not voted Republican. I voted a handful of times, not even a handful, 3, and for Democrats. And it was rather passive. Don't like the Democratic Party, but come from a left-leaning, liberal Democrat kind of family. And then only in 2020 did I decide to vote Republican. Now, I certainly don't like Trump and many of these people screaming fraud nonstop. I certainly think there are questions about procedure and policy. Fetterman right now is suing to get ballots instated that are not comporting to law. There's procedure issues. Democrats like ballot harvesting. Yeah, well, in 39 states, ballot harvesting is allowed. If you don't like the procedures, then we've got an issue. I think politics, it's dirty. It's supposed to be about the will of the people, but it ends up becoming about who can push the boundaries of the rules and do what they can to get as many votes as possible. Republicans are pathetic. They do not engage in this stuff. Anyone saying otherwise is lying. They come out and they say, what are you talking about? Republicans trying to purge voter rolls. Oh, yeah, purge voter rolls. Inactive voters getting removed. That's no, because people die and you want to have voter integrity. Having a basic layer of security is not cheating. So they say the Republicans do this. There are some, but it's the exception versus the rule. On the Republican side, you have the establishment uniparty trash. You also have a bunch of, about half maybe, MAGA Republicans, people willing to vote against things like garbage wars or, modern monetary policy type policies, mass printing of money. The Democrats are marching in lockstep. What do you get when you vote for AOC? More funding for war? At least I know there are some Republicans I can vote for who will say no to that stuff. The Democrats are constantly trying to change the rules, and they've been consistently screaming the elections are stolen. I'll put it this way. If you have two people and one guy wins a race and the other guy screams he cheated the whole time, then another race is held. The guy who screamed cheater nonstop the first time demands rules be changed, and then he wins. And so the other guy says, that's not fair. He changed all the rules. Yo, come on. By all means, I think it's fair to call out Republicans and Trump who scream the craziest election schemes, Venezuela and Germany and shootouts and servers and space and all that stuff. We know there was one guy who was arrested because he had voter data in China, Chinese servers. I get it. Bad things do happen. But the reality is, what Republicans have been missing, many of these people have been claiming fraud, the Q people or whatever. Democrats tricked you, and it's worked. I remember seeing that video of a guy in Georgia being like, "What's the point of voting? Oh, it's rigged." And then the Democrats took the Senate because people lost faith. It's voter suppression. No. I'll tell you what Democrats did. Democrats do ballot harvesting. They do it. It's a fact. The media will tell you it's a conspiracy. No, 26 states have ballot harvesting with limits and 13 have no issues whatsoever. There's not even a law in the books about it. At least that's, we were reading about the laws on IRL, and that's what we pulled up. And there's a handful of states that make it illegal. Most states, 26, there's restrictions, meaning you can only do it if you're a registered agent or if it's like 3 or more and they're from your family or household. But many states, people walk up with a bundle and just dump them in because they can. Democrats play the best game possible. Republicans get up and say, we got to make sure that we get every vote we can. Democrats go, we're going to go find every vote we can. We are going to do everything in our power, go knock on doors. And this is what I mean. Democrats go and knock on doors all day and Republicans have a harder time of doing it because Republicans are in rural areas. Anyway, let's read more. He says each will refuse to concede defeat when an election is close. At a time of rising political violence, if things don't go their way, each will encourage its angry and more unhinged constituents to go postal. No, they won't, dude. You see, this is why you vote Democrat, but I'm glad to see you've woken up as to their problems. The Republicans are not encouraging violence. Plain and simple, they're not. Some may be, but the overwhelming majority are not. The most prominent conservative voices are not advocating for this stuff. He writes, just 2 years ago, heading into the Donald Trump-Joe Biden election of 2020, The Democrats were sounding the alarm that if Trump were to lose the vote, he might cling to power through violence. Blah, blah, blah. Then you end up with January 6th. He says it wasn't pretty. Yet even as Democrats moaned in 2020 that Trump and his Republicans might not concede, they were loudly declaring their own intention not to concede if Biden and his Democrats lost. Isn't that funny? Quote, Joe Biden should not concede under any circumstances, said Hillary Clinton. Under any circumstances. That anti-police rioting was downplayed by the Democrats and loyal media, much as the January 6th Capitol riots are downplayed by the Republicans. Fair point. Fine. I think, I don't know, billions of dollars in damage across the country. I think seeing the White House have the barricades torn down, a guard post on fire, St. John's Church on fire, and the president pushed into the bunker, substantially worse. January 6th was bad. But you need to understand, my dude, why are Republicans angry? Because Democrats in 2016 refused to accept the results of the election, launched the Russiagate hoax, and jammed up Trump's presidency. Why did January 6th happen in the first place? Because of that and because of the George Floyd riots. Republicans are reacting. Democrats are instigating. It's all bad. Don't get me wrong. Clinton's under no circumstances defiance expanded on a televised address to the Democratic National Convention a week prior, in which she'd warned Trump would try to sneak or steal his way to re-election. That echoed similar comments made by Biden himself that his opponent would try to indirectly steal the election. Let me just point out, now you have Hillary Clinton saying the exact same thing. Then in September, the Washington Post and other media reported on a tabletop exercise aimed at predicting how events might unfold. What's the worst thing that could happen to our country during the presidential election, asked a Georgetown law professor. So he built a series of war games, sought out some of the most accomplished Republicans, Democrats, civil servants, media experts, pollsters, and strategists around, and asked them to imagine what they do in a range of election transition scenarios. A landslide for Joe Biden resulted in a relatively orderly transfer of power. Every other scenario we looked at involved street-level violence and a political crisis. That's right. It was stated, bipartisan consensus, that if Trump won the election, the Democrats would take to the streets with violence. They would launch us into a political crisis, their own version of January 6th. They said they would do it. The Democrats would, to borrow from President Biden's indignant speech this week, not commit to accepting the results of the elections that they're running in, and would instead choose the path of chaos in America. Wait, the Democrats would have been election deniers without a shred of real evidence? That's right. From the New York Times. For their war game, they cast John Podesta, who was Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman, in the role of Mr. Biden. They expected him, when the votes came in, to concede. But Mr. Podesta, playing Biden, shocked the organizers by saying he felt his party wouldn't let him concede. The organizers were shocked to hear this, even though Hillary Clinton had publicly stated 2 weeks earlier that Biden should under no circumstances concede. The participants in this war game 2 years ago were all anti-Trump Democrats and Republicans. And at one time, and at one level, they were just rolling around the same malicious fantasies they had indulged in since 2016. At another level, the entire war game exercise was a message to the nation. The orange-haired one is leaving. It's our turn. If you get in our way, we are going to burn down your cities and towns. In the war game, Podesta as Biden alleged voter suppression. Hey, they're doing that now, whatever that means. While the states of California, Oregon, and Washington threatened to literally secede. Isn't that insane? Rather than accept a second term from Trump. Congress deadlocked on the matter, and the New York Times summed up, at that point in the scenario, the nation stopped looking to the media for cues and waited to see what the military would do. Amazing. So he's not going to vote. He says Democrats, and what's worse, the supposedly free and professional journalists in the mainstream media, never address this. Yet they beat their breasts and claim that we have to vote for them tomorrow to save democracy. Sorry, not sold. Chris Hedges says correctly that we should have walked out on the Democratic Party and mounted a serious opposition while we still had the chance. And he's right. But that'll just have to wait for another time. Really, really well put, to be completely honest. The Democrats were threatening exactly what January 6th was. Let me stress that again. The Democrats threatened to wage a January 6th, and then it happened. But it was Trump side who did it. And now they went, oh, egad, oh, well, I never. Why would anyone do such a thing? Because they told you to. Because they advocated for it. Right now, of course, it's already begun. Tyler Bauer tweets a text message from Maricopa that reads, so it begins. Went to vote in Chandkar at the Catholic Church on Cooper Road. Scanning machine won't scan the ballots. Very few it would scan. So you have to put your ballot in the machine when the lady unlocks it. She says it will be taken downtown to be scanned there. This is why we have no confidence in the process. Let's return to hand-counted paper ballots. How about that? Election watchers, 3 people per box, and they're all counting the vote together. That's great. And then if there's an issue with the ballot, they challenge it. You get 1 independent, 1 Republican, 1 Democrat. Maybe, throw in a libertarian. Seriously, let's do Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, nonpartisan. 4 people. And they put the box and they all start looking at it and they all take their own independent tallies. That's the way we do it. A machine broke. And so we can't have an election? One of the funniest tweets I've seen, a guy saying, I'm on a plane and my book's battery died and now I can't read. The future is inconvenient. I thought it was funny. Something like that. Because he had a Kindle and he's reading and the battery died on his book. You can just pick up a book. The data is encoded page by page and you can read it. But sometimes technology is more convenient, but it's not always. And so right now we're starting to see more reports of this. These may be incidental and of no consequence. This machine broke. I mean, I'll just assume it's most likely his ballot would just be counted. But what happens when too much of this keeps happening? What happens when someone comes in and they get violent? I'm not saying that someone's going to show up and just be like, oh, I'm angry and violent. I'm saying someone's come in and be like, no, I don't buy this. Show me the machine not working. They'll be like, sir, back up. No, you can't do this. They're trying to steal the election. And then a fight breaks out and then someone gets shot. I don't know when you have that level of violence, how people can just accept the results. And that's why I fear the blood moon. I said this earlier, but I want to say it again. The blood moon, they say, signifies the overthrow of the king or the death of the king. Many people are calling it the MAGA moon. They're saying it signifies the red wave is coming. Perhaps. And I certainly hope it's just a red wave in the election, but it could be a red wave of blood. It could signify death is coming. And that's what scares me. Some have actually argued it has nothing to do with us. The blood moon signifies Russia and Ukraine. Perhaps. I don't know. But it's happening on our election day. And that's ominous, to say the least. I can tell you one thing. Well, this guy, Bivens, might come out. I want to make sure I get his name. Matt Bivens may come out and say he's not voting for Democrats because they advocated for violence and chaos. I would like to play for you this video from last night explaining why you probably got to vote Republican. I'll make it more practical for all of you with the words from Joe Biden himself.
We're going to codify Roe v. Wade in January and make it a run of the land.
Okay, let's play that again.
We're going to codify Roe v. Wade in January and make it a run of the land. We're going to codify Roe v. Wade in January and make it a run of the land.
Some people said he was trying to say rule of the land. Perhaps, but I'm not here to try and interpret Bidenisms because he said make it a rally land. Was he going to say make it a rule of the land? It seems like a weird phrasing. I think he'd say something like we're going to make it the rule of the land, not a. It's specific, right? But he said rally land. Yo, I don't know what a rally land is. So I watch videos like this and then I just say, okay, you probably shouldn't vote for this guy. And you probably shouldn't vote for a political party that's going to empower someone whose brain doesn't work. And the same is true for John Fetterman. Fetterman calls Republicans' embrace of conspiracies a bug, not a feature. Okay, so he's saying it's an accident? The saying, my friends, as many of you know, is it's a feature, not a bug. When something bad happens, you say, and people think it's a glitch, you say, no, it's a feature, not a bug. Like the Republicans, what he meant to say was Republicans' embrace of conspiracies was a feature, meaning that that's what they do. It's not an accident. But instead he said it was an accident because his brain doesn't work. He says he was so proud to, quote, so proud to partner with the police and fund the police as he makes his closing arguments. Fetterman ain't all with it. And if someone's willing to vote for this, civil war, I don't care. I will say it. Maybe not now, maybe not tomorrow, but we're on that path. You know, I've been reading about the Civil War, as I mentioned 50 billion times, and there was talk of civil war in the 1820s, and it carried on. until finally 1861. So maybe it's not going to be anytime soon. Maybe not in our generation. Maybe, but I don't understand how you can have people who actively call for violence, Democrats, advocate for refusing to accept the election results, and now have candidates who can't think straight. Maybe the reason Joe Biden came out and said there's going to be election deniers, but you have to accept the results. Maybe he's telling Democrats. Maybe they know they've pushed it too far. I doubt it. These people are unscrupulous. I look at them and they're willing to do whatever it takes to cling to power. Look at that article I just read. These dudes are outright saying that they wouldn't have accepted the election in 2020. Now I'm supposed to assume that they're coming out and trying to play the high road? No way. They're coming out and saying Republicans better not accept the result, or better accept the results, because they're going to have to. So we're going to have to wait several weeks. We'll see, my friends. There's a lot going on today. The next segment I have for you will be coming up at 4 p.m. at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.